look at the standings. Coming into day number 8 at the Giro, Ryder Hesjedal now sitting on top by 15 seconds over yesterday's stage winner, Paulo Tirolongo. But a lot of big names go within half a minute of the pink jersey.
The big news there to me is how many guys are there for Garmin Barracuda. 3 of the top 5, which means that Hesjedal has a lot of support. It also means they have options. If things go bad for him, he's got both Vanderveld and Stefan.
Testing.
To take carry that flag.
Okay, so as usual, I am going to be starting this climb with no warm-up.
He is only 126 down on the general classification, and he is 433 up the road.
I have
virtual pink jersey, at least at this
only
point.
1100 meters to
He
go.
has not won a race since turning pro back in 2009, now riding in his 3rd Grand Tour. And these guys slowly losing time.
So I am thinking it's going to be about an hour and 5 minutes or so. I'm looking.
The Polish rider at the front of that break picked up a 3rd
Not
place.
sure how fast I'm going to go.
But other than that, not a prolific winner either. As you mentioned, he won road and time trial national championships in his country last year, as well as another one-day race in Poland.
Ryder Hesjedal at the back end of this field right now in the pink jersey. First time a Canadian has led the Giro d'Italia. And a few days ago, his teammate Ramūnas Navardauskis was the first ever Lithuanian to lead the Giro when he was wearing the pink jersey. So a lot happening for Garmin Barracuda in the first week of racing. A lot of firsts.
So that is a big deal in Canada. Realize that it's been over 20 years since a Canadian finished on a podium of a Grand Tour. Actually, correction, Steve Bauer was 4th in the Tour de France. So no Canadian rider has ever finished on a podium, and Ryder is now leading the Grand Tour.
And he has picked a perfect spot to take the lead of the Giro because at this point in time, there are no Canadian teams left in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. So he has Canada's undivided attention.
There you go. That's adds to that weight of the nation there. And Ryder's been a pro for a long
The problem
time.
now
So
is
it's
to
not as though
get
he hasn't been, under
on the
pressure
break.
before, but leading the Giro d'Italia, the world's 2nd grandest race, it's a pretty big deal.
This is the back end of the field.
It'll help if I
With the
fasten my shoes up as well.
And that's brought the gap down to 4 minutes. Katusha really starting to ride now. We saw earlier no team taking charge, but now Katusha riding for Brito. Joaquin Rodriguez, who turned 33 years of age yesterday, and is in a very nice position near the top of the GC within a half minute.
Okay, this will grab a drink to start with.
He has that explosive ability. Loves the short, punchy climbs. And we still have plenty of those left at the Giro, so he is very much a threat to win this whole thing.
It's a really great opportunity for Garmin Barracuda. Actually, I spoke a little bit more at length with Alan Piper yesterday after the stage. Asked him about defending today, and he said, we want to defend. We want to enjoy our time in pink. And Katusha, Astana, and Liquid Gas are all interested in defending right now as well, so they'll probably help us out. They are right now. Right now it's all Katusha on the front.
Katusha followed by Astana, and then Liquid Gas Canada. The teams start to get organized at the front end of the peloton. Really now working on our 2-man group. As we're down under 40 kilometers left to go on this stage 8 at the Giro d'Italia. And the margin to our 2 leaders down to 2:22, with just over 30 kilometers left to go. Looking down on the field. And out of other riders who are well off the back, including Ramūnas Navardauskis, who is in that white jersey for Garmin Barracuda, a guy who was wearing the pink jersey in week number 1, but he has lost contact with the peloton now.
Navardauskis spent 2 days in pink, but he's been doing a bunch of the early work along with a couple of his teammates, Rosler and Rasmussen. So he is now feeling it.
And this is a group that is also behind the main field that includes Mark Cavendish and we believe Taylor Finney, who looks like he's 3rd wheel from the front now.
Yeah, it's definitely Taylor there. And so he is back in this Cavendish group, and they're losing some time, a little more than a minute behind the main field.
And they've lost a lot of time now, so there has been a split in the field.
It's the same meaning no matter what you call it. It's the guys who are just trying to finish the day and they have nothing else on their mind but getting to the finish before the time cut.
So the Cavendish Finney group about to scoop up these two riders. Pretty healthy number of guys back here in this second group behind our two leaders. So you have Martinsky and Amador in front, the peloton that includes the pink jersey, the top GC riders, and then several heads back. That is who we're looking at right here.
Well, strength in numbers is always the key in cycling, and actually in particular, as we have Sebastian Rosler on the front now for Garmin Barracuda. It is definitely the case when you have a big group behind. If they miss the time cut, they can still be, that's actually Rasmussen, they'll still put them back in the race if they miss the time cut that participating.
Cloudy skies, still relatively warm temperatures at the finish, but as we've seen, the wind is starting to blow in Lago Lacheno. Our two leaders at 30K remaining on one of the descents here. So many unrated climbs along the way, even though officially there's two categorized climbs on the profile today, but just like yesterday, it's up and down, wire to wire, all the way to the finish. But what distinguishes yesterday's finish from today is the fact that once they hit the summit of the final climb, there's 4K of flat roads around the lake itself. So that can make it a little bit different of a finish today from what we saw back on stage 7.
I think it'll be substantially different. They actually have a little bit of a downhill there right when they get to the top with 4K to go. So there's plenty of time for guys to make it back on. It won't split up like it did right in the finish yesterday. It'll end up being a select group of riders. Rasmussen doing a great job on the front. Remember, he was the guy who could have ripped into the pink jersey in the stage 14 time trial. But there was a climb. He was hurting. He told his teammates, guys, go. Leave me. They did. They won the team time trial. They put Navardauskas in pink. It's all about the team players in this sport of cycling.
Field at 30K. A little more than 2 kilometers behind our two leaders, and just inside of 2 minutes back. And again, Mark Cavendish, Taylor Finney, Lucas Navardauskas, among the riders in another big group, several minutes behind the main field and the pink jersey.
try to give myself much of a lead as possible.
Section from 8K to go to 5K to go. And in there is also that steepest 12.
I'm dropping back a little bit on the estimated time. You're guessing for a large of an hour, give or take a minute.
Well, it's a big call, it's a big ask. But yeah, Normandy just a week or so before this race started, he was sprinting really well against non-field sprinters, which is exactly what we're going to have here at the finale. He'll make the selection on the fly, and he may be inspired to go for another win. The Italian's jersey is even confusing. The Italian's origin is the white jersey of Passo Giau. Has those pink sleeves and those pink accents. It looks a lot like the overall pink jersey for the race leader.
Those riders feel like before drivers are clear riders around him, racing him too. But then as Ian Peter said, the Passo Giau rider worked up in Barracuda after that mechanical issue trying to get back.
It's a bummer for him. I think he doesn't even have Robbie Hunter there because Robbie obviously had to give something up to Peter. So Peter now working his way through the area. There's his team car, just opening up a little bit of a gap in front of the team car to allow Peter to get on the wheel. And he'll very slowly close it. But look at how he's struggling right now. It's a huge effort by the American.
A little bit of a draft here.
Yeah, you gotta sort of be careful. Just park your rider right on the bumper. Well, it's easier to get a penalty, especially when you're going by guys that have been dropped. But if you're a couple bike lengths back, you get a little bit more leeway from the officials. This is a smaller climb, definitely an unrated climb. But still, this is a real bump for Wheatstep.
Remember, Mark Cavendish, Taylor Kitty also lost time. They're in another group that's lost several minutes to the main field. And now here's the sprint mode coming up as Amador is ahead of Marchinski.
He's going pretty early, and that's a huge effort when you're in the breakaway like that. It really kills the legs for later on.
Runs at the 20K to go banner. Amador rolls through first, but the lead for these two riders now down under a minute. 20 kilometers left to go, less than 7 to the base of the day's final climb.
Schindler, Giro d'Italia this year.
Number 1 there for Lampre's Michele Scarponi. Off to his left, number 121, the green and white Olympic gas Cannondale. That is Enon Basso. Scarponi attacked in the final 500 meters yesterday. Thought he was going to get a stage win until Colin Cipollone came around him. In the final 50 meters before the line.
stomach issue is not impacting him today.
We're really seeing any Garmin Barracuda riders near the front. And I haven't seen them riding a lot at the front field.
Saw in the pink jersey about 30 or 40 wheels back. Not positive for the rider.
French Schleck also moving up to the radio check Nissan. He's on the left-hand side of the group, about 12, 13 wheels back behind Joaquin Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't think I'll beat my PR.
Number 51 from Colombo, their team leader. He's in the blue and white. In Passo, second wheel. Fourth wheel, Anthony Scarponi. Jose Rujano, Brandroni behind Scarponi.
I've done several hard effort back to back climbs over the past few days.
Waiting to see what the pink jersey is. You can't go somewhere in this group. Remember, the road is flat now for the final 4.5 kilometers. They'll have a chance to regroup and get back in this contingent of top GC riders.
He has a few teammates with him. They can absolutely drill him once they get to the top with him if he's a little bit off the back to try and regain contact.
Sandy Kazar, Renzo Lucia, and he's Peter Stinton. The best young rider for Garmin Barracuda.
Came in 5th overall, and I don't know that we would have seen his computer had he not had that problem he had to chase back on. Really hurts him to chase back on like that.
Give it a push. We've got a small 2 or 3 metre recovery section coming up.
Determination is what it's all about in bike racing, and for a guy like Ryder, this is the time to do it.
Attack from Colombo and Pozzovivo, their team GC leader, very good climber, recently won the Giro del Trentino prior to the Giro d'Italia.
Like clockwork, as soon as it hits 12%, Pozzovivo goes. He's a tiny guy, great climber, a real special
Grab a drink before I forget.
For the stage win, it's going to take a pretty big gap to come over the top.
Two tickets to daylight between himself and the other GC riders, and also hoping to get a 20-second time bonus.
Okay, so in the silver big ring.
Huge gap. That's actually surprising to me that he's got that much of a lead already. And Ryder's still hanging on there in front of that little split. 4 to 5 guys coming
It's set on the 28.
These underscores still go the effort it takes on a day where maybe you're not feeling at your best.
So 53.28 on the cassette.
Or sometimes
I obviously
you have to go as hard
took down to gear 10. I'm going to drop down to 8 in a minute.
here to see just how big that is. For Ryder. Oh, my heart goes out to the Canadian scrum.
In fact, I think I'm going to wear when this radiance increase is removed. I'm going to wear stand up instead.
Here, there, a little bit of a maybe miss shift. Grinding it over.
Up to the 12.
under 6K to go on the stage, under 2K.
As I'm standing up right now, I'm able to put more power on the slower cadence.
That's great for Ryder, and it's also great for Polzavino off the front, who's going for the stage win.
I'm going to drop back to the 8 because I've got my muscles getting tense. And that could easily lead to cramping.
Looks like he survived the climb. Just about to the summit. The second categorized corner of the day. And it will be flat on the west side of the lake. For now, the finish of the bottom three of the leaders. And Schultz second on the road. If things ended this way, Polzavino would get a 20-second time bonus, and Schultz would get 12 seconds.
Real quick, 2-second leg stretch.
Coming to the top of the clock. Giovanni Visconti is the team leader for this Movistar squad, but they're loaded with a lot of good climbers. So this is not a surprise to see a move like this run in Chelsea.
Actually, I think that Visconti's their greatest climber. He's more of an all-rounder. It's always great to have a teammate going on the road like that.
This is the reduced field of GC riders. Leader 4K to go. League Gas Cannondale still riding in front. Frank Schleckville, Radio Check, Nissan number 171 is up there as well. Michele Scarpone, Roman Kreuziger.
A lot of the hitters there. The man that looks like he's just having the most trouble is Ryder Heshdall.
So Polzavino, our leader, is over the top now on this front section of the bottom 4.5 kilometers. And Chelsea chasing him.
Chelsea looking like he's suffering masterfully here. Looking at the head all over the place.
Okay, so the 30-minute timer
This is just off the back end of that
will
eight-field
give
GC rider going over the top of the clock.
some sort of indication
Visconti second from the last
of
there as his teammate
how well Napoleon doing.
off the front.
So 22 seconds from our leader, the second man on the road. Down to almost 3K left to go. Flat the rest of the way up for the downhill. In the final 300 meters, and no real technical turns. Just a gentle bend to the left of the 1 kilometer.
Polzavino style. Big here, grinding long, sitting up pretty high. He's not a good time trials at all.
That's why he needs to make these sorts of moves to get time bonuses and physical gaps.
A little TV time there, and a little motor racing at the same time.
Really riding well in the medium mountains these last few days.
No doubt, he seems to be riding into his own. Chosty here, notice how he's down, he's got the elbows in, the head down, much more aero position. Juxtapose that with Polzavino, very different style.
Polzavino looks like he's riding away to the stage win. And Chelsea trying to ride to a time bonus, looking
basıyor ama
Climb and now using this last section to breathe a sigh of relief.
And he slayed the dragon today on that climb. Good for Ryder, good for Garmin Barracuda.
That should help him keep that pink jersey
maybe
in
not.
danger. Pozzovivo, 2K from the finish, maintaining his margin over Benyat and Chelsea. That's 42 seconds on the pink jersey, but
He's got it bad luck. Nothing good to take that victory away from him, other than a match where he can't fill at this point.
Tekrar Tunisi'ye giye. Türkiye'de Alex'i böyle kontrol ediyor. Bakalım again.
So that could make a little bit of a difference there, but not a huge difference in the general classification as nobody is within 8 seconds of Ryder Hedgdahl on the GC. Tiro Longo sitting second at 15 seconds down. Rodriguez at 17 seconds.
23 seconds to Chelsea, 42 seconds to the other GC riders, including a pink jersey of Ryder Hedgdahl for Domenico Pozzovivo. Coming up about the 5 kilometer of racing on stage 8.
Pozzovivo really rocketed up that climb from that 12% up to the finish. A great job by him. 1 kilometer to go, 6/10 of a mile. I didn't expect it to have that big of a gap over the top. This has been a fantastic final few kilometers for the Italian.
Yeah, opened up very quickly for Pozzovivo. The guys in the hills had a pretty good tempo, and now there's that field GC riders in the distance behind it. Chelsea is coming up to the red flag. 1 kilometer left.
For Chelsea, second place still to go guaranteed, because those guys have him in their sights. But Pozzovivo, nobody's going to catch him. He cannot hand it out here of the victory.
Domenico Pozzovivo getting his first ever Grand Tour stage win. Has very good form after winning the Giro del Trentino just a few weeks ago. Also won the mountains classification and took a victory on stage 3. The 29-year-old Italian. His first Grand Tour stage win is going to be in his home Grand Tour on stage 8 of the Giro d'Italia.
It'll be mighty sweet for him and his team. He took a bit of a risk, going a little bit long there, risking blowing himself out. Nobody responded. They gave him a little rope. And then he said, okay, guys, I'm going to stick it to you.
After 6 hours on the bike, Domenico Pozzovivo soaks in and celebrates a stage 8 victory. Benyat and Chelsea racing in for second. And a 12-second time bonus. And now here's the battle for the 8-second time bonus to finish third. As they come up behind it, Chelsea. Third place on the line, and it looks like it might have been Joaquin Rodriguez.
It did look like it might have been Rodriguez. Terrible camera angle there. It's pretty hard to tell. But there's no question Pozzovivo gets the win and his first Grand Tour stage victory. How sweet it must be.
It's an Italian, and it is Brito, who picks up the 8-second time bonus. KG move on the day after his 33rd birthday for Rodriguez. But the diminutive Italian, Domenico Pozzovivo, with the attack on the bottom climb, wins stage 8 of the Giro in the rival of the champ.
Really soft there, man, standing next to him.
almost 30 minutes in. I get it past the halfway mark of the climbing. Almost. So it was almost the halfway mark with the climbing elevation. Well, I've done more distance on the first half of a small downhill section as well. Okay, so although it's disappointing, it's not really that much of a problem with overriders passing me right now because I'm still ahead of my PB plan. Oh, I did just see myself about 70 metres behind. About 35 seconds maybe. Yeah, I think my PB on here is an hour and 5 minutes. Well, I did do a group ride around through Feather last year, which gave me 55 minutes. But group rides don't really count because you get the magnet effect, or drafting a magnetic effect of being pulled around.
In that race yesterday, looking very good on the climb as well as the day before, and he's a guy that I have to wonder if
so he's far behind the group ride leader. He can save like 20 or 30% of power.
Before he started this race, and yet look at how he's riding. He seems to be getting
Cemetery. As they ride through the town of Casino today. One place Casino was what we were looking at just a few moments ago, so a lot of iconic landmarks in this area. Our 3 leaders now 2.5 minutes ahead of the field. 56 kilometers left to go. Stage number 9. That's an interesting time.
Because I'm about 45 seconds or so ahead of my previous best effort.
Now, where the body and the mind is going through different sorts of emotions and different sorts of experiences because they haven't done a race of this length to this point in the year. They've been going a race for 6 or 7 days, and basically as long as any of these guys have ridden so far this year. So we're now over the in-game mark, in day number 9. It's really interesting to see how guys adapt to this book.
And a lot of guys really adapting in different ways. When you look at Taylor Finney, he's in his second Grand Tour. He started the Sparta last fall, but didn't finish that. He's a guy who started out by winning at the time trial. It was a huge goal when he was coming into the race. And then having a very rough and tumble handful of days. Now he's trying to settle in and just finish this race because he can bring huge mental and physiological benefits from it.
Still a long way to go. Just the start of our second of 3 weeks. The hardest racing is coming in the final week. They started week 1 with 3 days in Denmark, and then once the race arrived in Italy, it made its way south down the eastern side of the peninsula. Now for the first day turning back north, heading up the western side of the route of Italy. We're reaching the mountains of the Dolomites next week for the 6 days of climbing. This is a circuit trial, so this is a crony team that's had some interesting experiences on the race so far.
Doing some cardio. I feel fine.
The sprinter Roberto Ferrari who took out Mark Cavendish and Taylor Finney.
I was watching a lot of strain into my leg muscles.
Is their team leader, who's even riding in front in the mountains. Sorry, Brody has been very prominent so far as the first 9 days here of the race.
Roberto Ferrari's man we've not seen in several days since that crash. And he's maybe feeling pretty bad about all the peer pressure of people looking at him with a bad look after what was a really crazy move where he took out both New Jersey and the world champion in one fell swoop.
Olga, Kaiser, and Cazot. 3 leaders, a Frenchman, and 2 young riders.
Alright, stand up for a minute.
Now 2:26 ahead of the Hilltop. 2.5 hours in and 54 kilometers left to go on a cloudy day for stage 9 of the Giro d'Italia.
Now sit back down.
An acceleration here from the breakaway.
Put the gears again.
Solo rider Pierre Cazot. Clisquetel now second in position here, and Brian Olgak Almado third of the trio. So the first real move we've seen from the 3-man breakaway, and it comes with the field bearing down on them now, just 41 seconds behind.
Kaiser only his second Grand Tour. He finished 153rd overall in the Vuelta last year. He's going on the attack now here.
24-year-old Dutch rider who rode in the Rabobank Continental team until last year when he signed with Lama Soleil. So the gap now has come down well under a minute. And you wonder where those signals are coming from.
There's part of where they are right there.
So our first real move. There in the last several kilometers, the field spread out. No one team really taking control here, so Kaiser is moving the gap upwards closer to a minute now, with just over 30 minutes left.
The trouble. Today's not a great finish for him, but tomorrow is very interesting. With some steep pitches and some cobblestones. Tomorrow is extremely telling.
25K for our leader, and a 50-second margin.
There's Mike Hagan of his whale. He'll probably pass me.
Launched this attack from the breakaway. Field coming into the town. See how far they are back once they hit that sprint gap. Very accurate indication of the margin. They're now more single file through the narrow streets. These almost spread out they were across the road and just wide on an open highway. And now here comes more damage with an acceleration. About to say, Soleil Rider responding.
That's pretty guaranteed that nobody's going to be in competition. He's going for those intermediate sprints. But
no chance. I did 250 meters of planning in 12 minutes.
What do you expect a battle like Mark Cavendish will win today's stage, or will the pure sprinter be upset?
So honestly, it's just a toss of the coin for my mind.
Is a coming to the front. The all yellow on grid for He's a guy who
Typically suffers in the field right at the end of the race for the sprint. But maybe today he will turn that around. Ryder Hedgehog there. A lot of guys looking around. It's a very tense moment of this bike race. The tension has gone up significantly as someone attacks off the front right now.
a rider on the left side of the field. Our first move from any rider since the breakaway was caught. And that looks to be Dennis Manning there, the Belgian for Lotto Belisol. So they had a move today. Ryan Golgan for Lotto. He was brought back, and now one of his teammates attacking here just before the 10K banner.
This is where we start to ride into some of these very late in the race hills. None of them are long. Some of them are climbing as steep. This is a little bit of a rise right here as he gets a little bit of an advantage.
Lotto lost one of their sprinters in Johnny Beersman, who pulled out the other day. They still have Adam Hansen, who could possibly back during the sprint. But right now, it's Vanadere, who's off the front by himself. And it's going to get tricky in the final 5K. And a lot of geography to deal with. It goes up and down. There are some technical corners, and we have the most technical corner closest to the finish that we have seen at any stage so far in this year's race, with a very sharp left-hand turn at 300 meters from the line. So watch out in the final 5K here on stage 9.
Is back to the front for Garmin Barracuda. Pink jersey, Ryder Hedgehog in fourth, right behind him, Robbie Hunter. Today could be a day for Robbie Hunter to go for it. If Hedgehog is okay, they may let Hunter loose and have him test his sprinting legs. It's a good finish for Hunter.
Vanadere is quickly swept up by the hard-charging field with 9K to go. Again, some of the top sprinters who are no longer in the race, Daniel Benani for Hushaw, Tyler Guerra, and Roman Dayu. The sprinters who are still here are Cavendish, Dan Goss, J.J. Baena, the aforementioned Robbie Hunter, and Arnaud Demar of SDJ, the youngest rider in the race, 20 years of age. Fourth wheel in the pink jersey behind his Garmin Barracuda teammates.
One team we haven't seen in this scrum up here of the lead-out, the Angeloni team. So he's still in the bike race, but he is not showing his face at all yet in this sprint.
Also haven't seen Rabobank, the original team that usually comes to the front, either for Mark Renshaw or Teo Boss by this point.
You can see on the right side of the screen the white jersey of best young rider, Damiano Caruso. He's got his team leader, Ivan Basso, behind him. So he's got to work very hard for his team leader. That's more important than his young rider.
Is it the rider getting a gap here, looking over his shoulder to see if anybody is going to respond to this with 8K left to go.
That team having both Pozzato and Pato. So they're going to be able to fix things up here at the end of the bike race.
Vanadere attacked the Lotto Belisol just a few moments ago and was quickly gathered back up on the field. That is Matteo Rabatini.
Pato and Pozzato have both stages of the Giro before. Rabatini now presumably trying to set them up, but once again, not really getting much daylight.
Rabatini was on a breakaway on the previous stage of this year's race. This is the activity at the back. Rabatini is now brought back. And acceleration here on this ascent. Lotto Belisol and Colnago at the very front with 7.5K left.
Hold on to your seatbelts, guys, because there are a lot of climbs like this still coming up. Several of these, and look at how it is really starting to disorganize in front of the field as these guys attack and disrupt that lead out.
Climb some descents and some very technical corners. Now Katusha with two riders here. Going off the front. Things getting very active. Riders dropping off the back. occasion, second place behind Ryder Hagedorn. Not the stage to expect Rodriguez to attack like this.
Oh, tomorrow will be a great day for Rodriguez on paper. He saw an opportunity. He is going for it. Look at him.
Here's Alexander Kristoff, his teammate with him. It's on delay. The Belgian Belisol, who's now dropping off the pace. But Joaquin Rodriguez, a very
1 minute left. Okay. Okay, so I finished the climb segment in under an hour. We got the photos. Yeah. The final chunk of business of climbing was that was on the limit.
Ventoso celebrating his 30th birthday back at the start of this Giro. Hasn't been much of a factor in the sprints to this point, and now we'll look back at the crash.
So Goss Goss got hit from behind by Pozzato, it looks like there. As Goss was slowing down, he was going wide, and Pozzato just T-boned him there.
And Cavendish right there as well in the rainbow jersey. JJ Hayedo, number 205 in the blue for Saxo Bank. Cavendish is falling on top of the Argentine in the corner. Wow.
Messy. Let's see if we get a better shot of that from the aerial, but it did look like Pozzato rammed into the back of Goss, and that's what started the crash. Goss was already going to lose the sprint, though. He was so wide and out of contention. Look at Ventoso coming up the right here. He's one of the few real fast guys left. He comes from several positions back and easily dusts the guys left in contention there.
Best young rider, Damiano Caruso, was going for it. But Ventoso, the fastest guy left after the crash in the final corner. Now, we talked about it earlier, and once again, the final corner in a sprint proves decisive, causing a crash. But Francisco Ventoso, the last man standing, gets the stage win for Movistar.
The crash at the end, critical for his chances to hold on to that jersey going on. You don't want to have to be recovering from crashing.
It's been part of the day near the back of the field, but then in those final 10 kilometers, his team came to the front to really ride for his general classification placing. Did a great job keeping him at the front, and he looked much better today at the end than he did yesterday.
Today, not as taxing a stage, but tomorrow certainly is a very tricky finale. So the guys are going to be nervous, and they were very nervous the last 20 Ks of today as well.
The 31-year-old Canadian holds the lead after 9 days of the 95th Giro. Francisco Ventoso of Movistar gets the stage win. His second Giro stage victory in the last 2 years. Stage 10 of the Giro d'Italia. A 5-man breakaway just over 60 kilometers away from the finish and a gap of just over a minute and a half on another gorgeous day in Italy. Bright sunshine, temperature in the low 70s. Barely any rain so far in the first half of the 95th Giro. I'm Steve Flanger alongside Todd Kowalski. Glad to have you with us. Canadian rider Hejdahl is the leader for the third consecutive day wearing the pink jersey. But Gogo, it is going to be a battle to hang on to that lead today with a sharp uphill finish at the end.
Very tricky, and not only tricky, but very severe finish. Steep climb, narrow road, some cobblestones. It's going to be very punchy, very explosive.
The main field has been led by Katusha and Garmin Barracuda in pursuit of the 5-man breakaway that had a maximum margin of right around 5 minutes, so it's come down considerably since then. Garmin Barracuda, of course, the team of overall leader rider Hejdahl, and Katusha, the team of today's favorite for the stage, Joaquin Rodriguez, because he is just so skilled at these sharp uphill finishes.
When Rodriguez has the form, which he appears to have right now, he has the punch like nobody else on a steep incline to a finish. So today is perfect for him. 20 seconds for a win. He's within 10 seconds of the pink jersey. So this is a real test for that man today, rider Hejdahl and his entire Garmin Barracuda team.
The 31-year-old and first ever Canadian to wear the pink jersey and lead the Giro d'Italia. Can he make it 4 days in a row? 60K left to go, and stage 10 of the Giro is now underway. A difficult finish awaits in the town of Assisi. Narrow, stone-walled, cobbled streets, very steep in the central Italian fortress town where the Giro ends on stage 10. Earlier at the start, it was rider Hejdahl, the 31-year-old Canadian, celebrating his third day in the pink jersey. Matt Goss still in red, okay after the crash yesterday, and also bouncing up off the pavement, Mark Cavendish, the world champion. However, the man who caused the crash, Filippo Pozzato, is out of the race, having broken his hand in the fall. But both Cavendish and Goss saying that after the race, hey, that's sprinting, life goes on, you gotta shrug your shoulders because that is the way things have gone. And this year's Giro d'Italia, almost the geographic center of Italy today.
As they started out earlier in the day on the coast, headed inland, and not a really difficult stage, only 2-star out of a potential of 5, but it's all at the finish where things are going to be so critical for that fight for the overall, and everybody knows it coming in, so it will be a very tricky and tense finale today. You'll have to have great legs as well as good position to get something out of it.
And that general classification still pretty tight coming into the 10th day of racing. Rider Hejdahl leading Joaquin Rodriguez by only 9 seconds, and some other big names near the top. Altogether, we have 13 riders within 1 minute of the pink jersey.
Okay, I'm not going to be chasing the segments. So this is more of a recovery, relaxed recovery type ride.
General classification, in fact, the highest place is Monoform, 23 minutes, 57 seconds out of it in the general classification, so no threat whatsoever for the overall. However,
Jersey on the right-hand side of the road, Ryder Hedgdahl. He's been near the front of the field most of the day with his Garmin Barracuda teammates. A departure from their strategy the last couple of days. He's been near the back of the field until the end, but today we've seen him riding right near the front.
Well, yesterday was a bit of a day off for Ryder, and I'm sure it was very nice to have after the high stress the day before where his stomach was bothering him, and he really suffered on that final climb, narrowly holding on to the small group as he got wheeled down. But today, once again, he will be tested. Paolo Tirolongo there just waved to the camera. He's one of the men who could do some testing at only 15 seconds down, and he's already picked up a stage win.
Linguigas Cannondale, the team in the white and green behind Katusha at the front. Of course, Linguigas for Ivan Basso, and now Katusha at the front in the red and white for Joaquin Rodriguez. And as far as Hedgdahl, he says his biggest concern today is those time bonuses. At the finish, 20, 12, and 8 seconds for the first three. And with a guy like Rodriguez, certainly more explosive power in a steep uphill finish like that, and only sitting 9 seconds back of Hedgdahl on the GC, he could very well lose that pink jersey if those time bonuses come into play and then favor a guy like Rodriguez.
And that's why that poor breakaway group is pretty much sunk. Teams like Katusha are going to be making sure that they bring back any breaks so that Rodriguez has an opportunity to pick up those time bonuses at the end, especially because he's such a favorite to get them. It really bodes well for him on stages like this in the history of his career, so why not go for it?
That's where the race is right now. Some bumps to go before that final ascent into a CC at the finish, and really the only stretch of flat road on this entire stage is right before that final climb. It's one of those classic Italian lumpy stages, almost start to finish. You get a breather right before the final climb, and then it's uphill to the line.
Fumiyuki Beppu there, the Orica Green Edge rider out of Japan. One of the first two Japanese riders to complete the Tour de France. That was a couple of, just 3 years ago, 2009. He and another rider on another team both finishing that year. So technically, I don't know which one crossed the finish line first on the final day.
This is Steph Clement for the Rabobank team, trying to get across from the field to the breakaway.
Clement has picked up the National Time Trial Championship last year of the Netherlands. He's trying to put those skills into use a little bit here, and he's picking guys up.
That was Kaiser and Randall from the breakaway. They have been dropped by these three riders who are now 30K band. That is Faili, Minguez, and also Bonifon. So the five-man breakaway has come apart, two dropping off, three going ahead. And now with Steph Clement moving forward, this is what we've got. We have three riders in the front, chased by three, and then the peloton behind them. Everybody at just about 30 kilometers left.
Definitely Clement is a pretty big TT engine. He's a veteran of all three Grand Tours, the Giro, the Tour, and the Vuelta. You can see him throwing down that TT here, although he doesn't have the benefit of the time trial bike, but he's won the Tour of the Nations back in 2008, as just mentioning. He picked up his Dutch time trial national championship last year. He's trying to make something happen here.
He's trying to tell Kaiser to rotate through, and Martin Kaiser back on Soleil said, hey man, I've been out here all day. You just got here.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy for you to be frisky right now. I'm half dead.
So Clement, Randall, and Kaiser, the three here, the second on the road, behind Faili, Minguez, and Bonifon, who are currently the leaders, half a minute up the road. This is the peloton over a minute back of our leaders with 30 kilometers left as they hit the banner. Now some rolling terrain yesterday, but primarily flat. No
going quite well. I think that when you're in the pink jersey, you want to stay in that pink jersey for a while. And, you know, they haven't had to do a whole bunch of riding. Yeah, they've ridden to defend it, but they've had other teams' interests in there as well that have done some riding, so they haven't had to do all of the chasing. I think they'd like to stay in it.
20K for the leaders. Just 15 seconds back to the three chasers, and the gap holding pretty steady back to the GC and the Peloton riders.
Right at the back there, Matthias Brandl for that app. He was actually 8th in that sprint yesterday, so he maybe got a little morale boost from that, and infiltrating the breakaway today.
You always see some surprises on a stage like this, with not a lot of serious climbing leading into that final ascent. The guys' legs haven't been softened up all that much, so you see a lot of attacks. Guys going near the base of the climb thinking they can just somehow hang on. It never seems to work out, though. This is the type of stage that's usually won by one of the favorites who you think is going to win going in.
Yeah, one, I was just thinking about that, Steve, actually. Konstantin Sisov, a few years ago at the Giro, remember, he attacked like 5K before a summit, or a small uphill finish with cobbles, and just couldn't believe that he would stay away, and somehow he did. It was like probably one of the very best days of his career on the bike.
It's the exception rather than the rule, and especially when you have GC riders like Rodriguez saying that he is so focused on taking the stage win. When you have that kind of motivation from guys that are that good in a finish like this, it makes it almost impossible for anybody else, whether they're in a breakaway like this, whether they attack late, to stay away and get the stage win.
Completely concur with you on that. And it looks like our front two groups will become 6. There's the field behind. 117 is the gap, and it's still well within reach of that peloton to produce all of the top places on today's stage.
Looking at the road here, it looks like everybody can see everybody else for the most part. Three chasers. Reeling back in the 3 leaders. Peloton still holds steady. 115 back, so they haven't knocked off a lot of time, but the 3 chasers that are pursuing these 3 leaders seem pretty motivated to get up here and make it a group of 6 at the front of the race.
That's definitely men on the front for Rabobank, really drilling it once he came up to these other 2 riders. Some fresh legs, although I bet you his legs are not feeling so fresh at this point. He's taking some big, long, fast pulls in this group.
3 chasers coming around the corner, almost over the back wheels of our 3 leaders. And further down the road, at the bottom of the screen, momentarily, you will see the field. Use every inch of these wide and well-paved roads. But those roads will get narrow. They will get bumpy. Stone-paved, cobbled streets, narrow, twisting ascent. All of that is coming up at the end of today's stage 10.
Rubenus Nabradauskas, top of the screen on the right, taking up the pace-making for Ryder Hejdahl. Pink jersey, about 6 wheels back, right behind his teammate, the South African national road champion, Robbie Hunter.
3 chasers clawing their way back to the 3 leaders, and then that is Faili attacking with Minguez on his wheel. Bonifant following. They were about to be caught, and they said, not yet.
You know, really pointless. Why not let the other 3 guys catch up and try and get everybody motivated to really start rolling the 6-man group? See if they can extend that advantage before the final hill.
And now indeed it is. A group of half a dozen at the front of the race with 17K left. A ways away from that final climb that leads up to the summit finish. Charge, Liquid Gas Cannondale now at the front, and acceleration out of the corner with just over 5K left.
Oh, this is getting messy at the front and at the back. Look at the bottleneck. These guys have no chance for anything except to get split out the back at this point.
The race finishing for the 4th time ever in the town of Assisi, but first since 1995. At 4K to go, it really starts to go uphill. It hits 15%, 3 kilometers from the finish as the field here now goes into the 5K banner. They will have that descent of just about 1 kilometer in length from 2.5 kilometers to 1.5K to go to the finish, and then that final kilometer all uphill on the very narrow roads with cobblestones and some technical corners. So that's coming up here shortly.
And AG2R on the front right now for Gaudray, who's 2.5 minutes down in the general classification. This is a day that he's got to make that split at the end, minimize his losses as well.
Gas Canada on the team with several riders for Passo at the front. Radio Shack Nissan coming up on the right-hand side of the screen. Frank Schleck within a minute of the overall race lead. On the far left, Ryder Hejdahl in the pink jersey. And Hejdahl and the Rodriguez, it looks like, are rubbing elbows.
Indeed, as Hejdahl having to freelance there off of Astana a little bit ago. Radio Shack Nissan on the front, right when they need him for Frank Schleck.
4K to go, and the climb starts. But for Cavendish, he's off the back.
Look at this, the peloton already blown into pieces. A huge group off the back. This battle has been fierce, and the road's getting tiny as well.
So Radio Shack Nissan, Liquigas, Katusha, the teams at the front.
Hejdahl is following Joaquin Rodriguez. That's the wheel to be on. Just stay right there. That's the man to watch.
Lago won a stage a few days ago with Domenico Pozzovivo.
Looks like Gianluca Brambilla slipping just a little bit off the front there, but he's trying to set up his teammates for later on this climb.
Renee Zavine with the rider just behind. 3.5K to go. Just part of the climb coming up.
Here we go. It's almost 12% here. Brambilla has been absorbed.
Eureka Green Edge rider trying to attack on the right-hand side of the screen. The response from Alambre looks like Cunego and Scarpone both together.
A lot of guys testing their legs. There's 111 in red. Rodriguez sitting third wheel right now.
So he's just behind Scarpone, who is just behind his teammate Damiano Cunego. Roman Kreuziger is just behind Joaquin Rodriguez, number 31 for Astana.
Ryder Hejdahl just a couple wheels further back.
All right, so Scarpone in the middle of the road in the pink and blue for Lampre. Just off to his right in the red and white is Joaquin Rodriguez. He's number 111. They're chasing this Eureka Green Edge rider. They're really not a serious chase. They're looking around at one another. The pink jersey is there on the right-hand side of the road. That's Ryder Hejdahl just off the right shoulder of Joaquin Rodriguez. 3K to go. This is the steepest part of the climb where it hits 15%.
Hejdahl still sticking strong to the wheel of Rodriguez, about 4 wheels back in that group.
The Rabobank rider just ahead of Scarpone, who is just ahead of Kreuziger.
Tom Yeltis-Slagter is the Rabobank man. Now it is Scarpone who is taking up the chase. Let's see if he has the punch that he sometimes has when he can get rid of everybody on a finish like this.
Michele Scarpone a few days ago with a steep uphill finish, attacked late, almost got the stage win before Paulo Tirolongo came around him. Under 3K left, Joaquin Rodriguez is there in the red and white.
These guys making a selection right now, but saving everything for that final uphill kick on the pave in the final kilometer.
Slagter at the front, followed by Scarpone. Kreuziger, Joaquin Rodriguez. The pink jersey's about 5 wheels back. Ryder Hejdahl. Domenico Pozzovivo for Colnago is on the right, just off the left-hand side of the pink jersey.
The Sky Rider looks like Rigoberto Urán there as well.
John Gaudray, a couple of wheels back for AG2R, over 2 minutes down on the GC. Pozzovivo on the left in the blue and white for Colnago, just ahead of the pink jersey of Ryder Hejdahl. Slagter in the middle, the orange and blue for Rabobank. No big attacks from the heavyweights to this point. 2.5K left to go.
Keeping everything ready for that final K, and that's where we're going to see some major fireworks.
They have a descent before the final uphill in the last kilometer. Slagter settles in at the front, followed by Pozzovivo, then Scarpone, Rodriguez, and the pink jersey of Hejdahl in that order.
Hejdahl doing a great job here of holding his own amongst these very punchy finishers.
Now when he's looking around, nobody wants to launch that first acceleration. Slagter, Pozzovivo, Scarpone.
Yeah, they're all they're waiting to get past this downhill. So it was a testing section there. There was some selection. Rigoberto, or no, that's Sergio now who has come to the front and off the front for Sky.
An AG2R rider on his wheels. So now launching the first move where maybe some didn't expect it on the descent with 2K left.
A cagey little attack there by one of the two Colombians on that squad. And now doing major battle last year at the Tour of Utah with Levi Leipheimer. He picked up 2 wins there, but he finished second to Leipheimer in the end. That's Godre.
So these two can climb. Now and Godre. John Godre on the podium at the Giro last year, but he's over 2 minutes back on the GC right now.
It looks like I mistook him for his teammate Rigoberto Urán there, so it's Urán and Godre into that final 1.5 kilometers.
And one day, it goes back uphill, and the road really gets narrow as they come into the old city center of this medieval town of Assisi. Godre looking back.
Oh, this is really big time bike racing now. Look at the Katusha man on the front. That's Daniel Moreno for Rodriguez.
Third wheel is the pink jersey of Ryder Hejdahl. Second wheel, it is Joaquin Rodriguez, who says he wants this stage today for sure. The final kilometer as they go through the stone archway, the gate into the old city center. A couple of technical turns, and check out how narrow the road gets as they will make their way onto the cobbled streets.
That's it. The forecast is for pain now in these final parts of the descent to the line.
Joaquin Rodriguez, second wheel, the pink jersey behind him. Domenico Pozzovivo still there for Colnago. Roman Kreuziger at the bottom in the turquoise colors of Astana. Rigoberto Urán in the dark colors for Team Sky. Sharp right-hand turn, and now the launch by Kreuziger, it looks like. Making the move, followed by Rodriguez.
It's Tirolongo. It's Tirolongo who is gone.
But Rodriguez is right there with them alongside Urán. The pink jersey maintaining contact with about 4 or 5 wheels back now. So Rabobank leading Rodriguez. Looks like Slagter again has come to the front. But Joaquin Rodriguez, number 111, right on his wheel.
Look at this. Huzarski for net out. Unbelievable as he's challenging for the stage.
Half a kilometer left to go. Joaquin Rodriguez sitting on the wheel of Slagter here in the red and white for Katusha. Time bonuses at the line again. 20, 12, and 8 seconds for the first 3. Right now the pink jersey is 6 wheels back or so.
This is going to be really tough for Hejdahl to hold on to pink with Rodriguez vying for the stage win.
Hejdahl right behind Scarpone, just ahead of Passo. Now Slagter going for it. Joaquin Rodriguez still being patient, sitting on his wheel. Now Burrito moving to the front. On the slight left-hand bend, Joaquin Rodriguez finally launches his move on the stage that he has coveted, riding up towards the finish and dropping everyone else.
Dropping everyone, including Huzarski. Great ride by J. Rod Rodriguez there. Gets it.
Delivering on the promise as advertised. Joaquin Rodriguez wins the stage, gets the time bonus. Now the pink jersey crosses over with the gap. And some of the other GC riders were around him there, the likes of Scarpone and Basso.
That should put Rodriguez into the pink jersey. With that 20-second time bonus, he came in just 9 seconds behind Hejdahl.
4 hours, 25 minutes. For the stage number 10, Joaquin Rodriguez, a few days removed from his 33rd birthday, and gets his first stage win at this year's race. Was 5th in the Giro a year ago. He picks up his first stage win of this year's race. And this was a stage he had targeted from the outset. He waited and was very patient before making the decisive move today.
Perfect positioning by finishing. Nobody having the legs to match Florito, as he is the best in the business at this type of finish, and he proved it here once again today in the Giro d'Italia.
Maybe a bigger surprise, the only riders who were hanging with them, not the ones you would necessarily expect.
Bartosz Furtsov there, the pole for NetApp. Second place, the first podium for that wildcard team, and Giovanni Visconti in third. Great finish by both of those guys.
First ever Grand Tour victory. Not a great time trialist, but in the first half of the race, he's put himself in position to be a legitimate threat going forward in the second half of this year's race. Rodriguez into the race lead. He now holds the pink jersey by 17 seconds over the previous leader, Ryder Hejdahl. Both the Astana riders, Tirolongo and Kreuziger, still within a minute of the overall lead. It is the second consecutive day in the high mountains of northern Italy for the 15th day of the 95th edition of the Giro d'Italia. Second of back-to-back summit finishes, and yesterday's first summit ascent shaped the general classification somewhat. Ryder Hejdahl has moved back into the lead over Joaquin Rodriguez, and Astana's Paolo Tirolongo is now the only other man within 1 minute of the Maglia Rosa. This is the finish. There is rain on the summit that wraps up stage number 15, so another cold, wet one in store for the peloton today. That is starting today's 169-kilometer stage, 30 miles north of Milan, riding into the Bergamo Alps and through the Lombardia region of northern Italy.
And this area known for its climbing in the Alps, and sure enough, 105 miles today, starting out relatively benign, but then 4 categorized climbs as they make their way from Busto Arsizio up to the Resinelli climb, and the final climb today is steeper than that final climb was yesterday, and that could be a very big challenge for Ryder Hejdahl.
Go on live to our coverage on stage number 15. You see the wet roads, the rain jackets. We have 2 leaders, Guillaume Bonifant and Matteo Rabottini, who have built up a pretty good margin. Giovanni Visconti, the Italian national road champion, however, has pulled out of the race today, and so has the Radio Shack Nissan leader Frank Schleck, who was caught up in a crash a few days ago. He's really been bothered by a back injury. His shoulder has also been hurting, so the 2 big names that have pulled out today, Schleck and also Visconti.
Schleck apparently suffering from dislocated shoulder. This is Cavendish. He has vowed to continue on and finish this race and try and keep the red sprinter's jersey all the way to the line. He's looking good in the rain jacket of the world champion, I have to say, but it's going to be a hard day for Cav to make the time cut.
So in front of the race now, this is Matteo Rabottini, so it looks like he may have dropped Guillaume Bonifant. That's him in the distance back there. These two were riding together for quite a while, but now Rabottini creating a gap between himself and the 82R rider Bonifant at the very front of the race with 90 kilometers left to go. And that means that they are on the first of the 4 categorized climbs, the El Cava, and it's the toughest climb of the day at Category 1.
It's a pretty ugly climb, actually, especially in these type of weather conditions. 17% is the maximum grade, 8.1% the average, and it goes up over 3,000 vertical feet. Marzio Bruzzighini there. We saw him go on the attack late yesterday, and I wonder if this is a little group that maybe has peeled off the front of the field.
And indeed it is. Chasing group that's between our leaders and the peloton right now. We had 4 other riders earlier with Bonifant and Rabottini, but those 2 dropped them, and it became a group of 2 at the front who were chasing, and then the peloton. And now things have changed even more out on the road between the field and the front. As our leader goes inside of 90K left to go to the finish, and here are the names of the chasers. And one to take note of is Marco Pinotti, the Italian
time
just
back
over
now.
18 kilometers from the finish. He has a lead of over 5
11:30
minutes
time.
on a chasing group of riders that includes BMC's team leader, Marco Pinotti, and he has over 6 minutes on the pink jersey that is in the peloton with all the other top GC riders.
Another interesting man in this chasing group is the man at the back, the Omega Pharma Steph man in the blue jacket. That's Mikael Bolas. He's the leader of the mountains classification, and this is the perfect type of day to get away and move and scoop up some more mountains points.
Some other riders just behind this chasing group here. Pinotti and the red and black from BMC now moving into the second wheel with Musaki just behind him. Muscatel has been in the brakes the last couple of days as you see the rain continuing to fall. Yesterday it rained early but then let up in the final hour and a half of the race. Gave the guys a break, but today a bit nastier. Still very cold, temperature in the low 50s, but the rain continues to fall on just the first of 4 climbs. And when it's raining and it's cold and you know that you have 4 climbs to go over, boy, it is tough on the psyche. Well, we thought it was Ryder Hedgestone, but the pink jersey apparently belongs to Donkey. Shrek's co-pilot wearing the Mali Rosa. How wrong we were.
Oh my. You would think that they would think that that was maybe just, I don't know, bad taste, putting the pink on the donkey.
Who knows what they think. Now Rabatini rolling along at the front. The Italian, 24 years of age from Toscana, Italy. This is not his first break of this year's race.
No, it's not.
And that's really been the theme. Everybody getting in the breakaways this year has been doing it on multiple occasions.
Rabatini spent, before today, 197 kilometers in breakaways, so that's just over 120 miles. On the front right now, Manuel Sella, one of the climbers on that squad, although he is 15 minutes down on the Androni squad. Brutzigin, their next position. That's Amish Chiruka in the orange for Euskaltel. Actually have Mikael Bolas in the back there in the blue. Also Marco Pinotti. Pinotti the highest place of the general classification there, but look at this, some action coming up from behind.
Toscana rider, we've got Lamprey back there, Team Sky as well.
Okay, I've lost my
Much larger chase group here. Still
main group of
leader Rabatini. And now at 87
helpers.
kilometers left to go on the stage.
Is it
This is
there?
where the climb is at its
Either
steepest,
way ahead
17%.
or way
So this is
behind.
the steepest section of road they will encounter all day long. It's also in the middle of an extended stretch of pretty steep roads altogether. The next 3 kilometers averaging over 11.5%. So this is going to slow them down somewhat.
And today, these continuous climbs, although they are very hard, the descents are also going to be selective. Wet, small, somewhat treacherous for sure. So it's going to make a difference. Today's race is going to be blown apart into small groups by the finish line.
Slowly grinding up the climb.
This is turning into a classic Death March day, and it's only the first climb.
Now remember, the elements are really conspiring against the riders today. And there's a confluence of circumstances as we move back to the front for Matteo Rabatini. It's the second of back-to-back days in the high mountains of northern Italy. It's the second of consecutive days of pronounced climbing. Some serious mountain challenges. And it's all coming at the end of a 12 consecutive day stretch of racing before the second rest day tomorrow. So it's all coming down on the riders at one time. Truly wear on them physically and mentally. That is what it's really going to add to the hurt here today on stage 15.
The only thing they can really have to look forward to is the fact that they have a rest day tomorrow. But
kilometers at this point as they did back in 2011 and 2010. Matt Goss, Mark Renshaw, two of the top sprinters have gone home. So
the biggest really loss in the race so far has been sprinters, and that's, you know, it's understood. This last week is very harsh for the sprinters, and so a lot of them have said it's time to get out of here. But we've lost some others to injury and other things. The big one is Frank Schleck today, number 171.
and several days ago, and in the first medium mountain stages as well, he was riding pretty good. He was at the front, showing that he had some floor, and we thought maybe he would be a contender, even though he was a late addition to the Radio Shack squad for the Giro. And that crash has really impacted him, and as a result, he couldn't go on, falls out on stage 15. So that's one less GC rider for the others to contend with. They're now 2.5 hours in, 3 kilometers away from the summit of the Category 1. These are the chasers.
Sella continuing to lead this group, although he doesn't look particularly great. I actually think Rabatini looks better than this chasing group, and he's been off the front for a long time.
Now, this is a day where the calculus can become important. Measuring your efforts. Right now, Rabatini just riding steady through the rain. Got the lead at 5:14 for the summit in the distance.
Just 50 meters once he gets to this corner. So Rabatini down with 1. Chasing group as he sees an opportunity to get something here, but look at that, only 39 seconds advantage for that chase group now over the peloton, with Nico Gas-Cannondale leading the charge.
They're coming up towards the crest of the hill, and this chasing group losing time to the peloton as opposed to gaining time on the leader.
There's still a lot of opportunity for a lot to happen in this bike racing, even though race organization characterized this day as a 4-star day, and yesterday was a 5-star. With all these climbs and these smaller roads, I knew today was going to be more selective than it looked. And now with the rain, it's going to turn into a 5-star for sure.
It's hard to overstate just how much
Let's see if he acknowledges me or not.
the race. It's always hard when you have 4 climbs in the high mountains.
No.
Rain, the wind, and the cold temperatures really hit you.
Right then. You ignorant sod.
The legs of the guys start to seize up, the muscles get tight, things get cold and strained, you end up with injuries, you just don't fire as well, you burn tons of calories, on and on.
Sometimes having these members put inside their jackets for the descent. A solo rider, grabbing like an underdog sport in the national paper, as well as the papers king. That's the way they have the color for the pink jersey, the overall race leader.
Chiruka now pushing never tired when I see days like this. Rabatini just sort of floating over some bumps there and then setting up for that next corner.
You mentioned that the roads are not all that well paved. They're very narrow, twisting and technical too, so a lot to be attentive with regards to how this day is unfolding. This is some of that separation that's happening on the descents of the Category 1 as everybody has gone over the top in terms of our leader, the chasers, and the peloton. There goes the newspaper. Said I wanted the comments, not the sports section.
Oh, these are some sharp corners to be taken in the wet. And this is off the front of the peloton, so guys trying to get away. You see the green jackets there for Liqui Gas Cannondale. Second man around is Ivan Basso. Look at how carefully he's taking it. That also shows some poise and some experience, knowing you can lose the race on a descent like this if you crash and get hurt. But you can't win the race on this descent.
The pink jersey of Ryder Hedgdahl was there near the front, wearing a blue rain jacket for Garmin Barracuda. So Hedgdahl staying where he needs to be, near the front, with all of his other GC rivals around him. And they are 5.5 minutes back of this leader, Matteo Rabatini. Just inside 5 minutes ahead of a chasing group of riders, with 76.7 kilometers left to go. And this is the action off the front of the chase group, it looks like. Single file back at the head of the peloton and Liqui Gas Cannondale. Still 3 riders at the front of this group, but it looks like it's getting smaller on the descent.
Yeah, in fact, we're already looking at bits and pieces of this bike race and guys in between groups, and it's just going to get more chaotic as the day
both sailing over the finish this way.
corner this way, you're in trouble, especially in the rain. He's just very comfortable on the bike and just kind of surfing that bike through the corners.
As far as his tactics and his strategy for today, what's your assessment? Because he went clear by himself after having gone on the first of 4 climbs on a bad weather day. So what was he thinking going in?
Well, let's look at the team. The team has nobody even close to the general classification spot. He's the highest placed guy and he's 50 minutes down. So he's Pinotti here, waving the motorcycle out of the way. Pinotti is not going to take the risk that Robertini is on this descent, that's for sure. But at any rate, a little bit of gesticulation as well. But I think for Robertini, this is just an opportunity to try something for that team that's been hammered by losing Filippo Pozzato. And I still don't think he's got much of a chance at all of staying away. He's taking a ton of publicity for himself.
Through the town. We'll start with the next climb. The Italian leading through. Passo Giau, whose rider for the newspaper is fastest for a short time, 1:06. And still several minutes behind Robertini, our leader, as they head towards the category 3. No way easy to the 4 miles on the day, although it's really easy on a stage like today. This is the Italian Vertigo Rookies number 2. Up there, you can lose the long break. Robertini with the air.
Maybe Diego Luisi, I think it is, was picking up the stage win last year, barely outstripping Giovanni Smalti. Smalti, one of the other big names that retired today.
Taking a more point at Brown, Brady, Seawater, picking him up earlier. He was at the front of the race with Robertini. Those two had a lead together of 8 minutes. But then Robertini dropped Orpon. He's been losing time since, now scooped up by the chase group here.
I gotta say, this chase group is riding really hard right now. They're a little bit scattered and they don't have it lined up, but that's partly because of the rain and the spray coming up off the wheel in front of you. But still, they are going, there's no doubt about it.
Robertini still pretty steady cadence. About 22 ahead, so he's not losing time to the chasers. And they're not really losing or gaining time on the peloton. Everything's pretty much holding steady in terms of the math here.
Very small changes in these gaps. 66.6K to go.
Stefano Rossi is the rider at the back end in the blue jersey for Colorado. And his teammate Domenico Pozzato won a stage a couple days ago. And he came out and said that today might be a day that he could potentially win. He's trying to run. He likes the profile. This time in bad weather. His teammate Rossi is now on the road in a chase through. At the bottom of the screen, in a gray rain jacket, is the overall race leader, and his rider Hedgehog on Garmin Barracuda near the front of the main field is now 9:42 behind our leader Matteo Robertini with 60 kilometers left to go. And we are now joined by Hedgehog's team leader in the team car at the Giro, Charlie Wagelius of Garmin Barracuda. Charlie, thanks for taking the time to visit with us. And first off, how does rider
Taking a bit of a break now. I'm staying ahead of Winfrey just to give him a bit of a drafting boost.
to thrive in nasty conditions. And you told me yesterday after the stage finish, as we're looking at Robertini almost going off the road, off the front by himself, but you told me yesterday that you had never really seen Hejdahl attack like that, ride that aggressively, and that was something new for you. What do you think brought that out in Ryder yesterday?
Well, I mean, as far as the conditions are concerned, I think that Ryder's really going to be in his element due to his mountain biking background. And I think that the aggressive side of Ryder that we're seeing in the race is purely a result of the fact that he's got a good condition. I mean, my ex-teammate Cadel Evans was often criticised for not attacking enough in races, but you attack when you're feeling good. So I think that it's more down to that. So he's feeling confident and he's been riding well for a long time. So I think that's the new version of Ryder that we're seeing.
Charlie, are you worried about any particular rider today that could be a threat to Hejdahl? Worried about particular attacks at one point or another?
No, because as I said, we really consider other riders to be the main people with the responsibility of the race on their shoulders. And in many ways, Garmin Barracuda already has a lot of hay in the barn. We've done a lot of good results in this race. And, we've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain, and many other teams, it's their race to lose. So, we're going to ride our own race with Ryder and get the best out of him as we can. And, we're not going to look at any specific rivals.
Let's talk just a little bit about Ryder's preparation. He knew he was coming into the Giro as the team leader, so he actually didn't focus as much on the classics and then take some rest and then try and get back up for the Giro. He actually built through the classics and built all the way into the Giro. Is that correct?
Yeah, for Ryder it was a completely new approach to planning his season because he's ridden successfully the Tour de France program with the classics for many years, which involved having a pause just after Liège. And we asked him in November to do the Giro, and it's a project that he was obviously immediately enthusiastic about. And it was a new way, to ride the season for him because he had a slower build-up and then no pause after the classics clearly, and then went straight into the Giro. But I think we can all see that it's bearing fruit.
All right, Charlie Wagelius of Garmin Barracuda, thanks very much for joining us for the team car. I know you have a lot going on with Ryder Hejdahl, and also a big congratulations because you arrived late at the Giro this year because of the birth of your son. So congratulations on the new baby boy as well.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
All right, so he's in the team car. They are behind the field. This is the man at the very front, Matteo Robertini, and this is where we are, just about to start the second climb of the day with 55.5 kilometers left to go. Robertini leading the chase group by just over 5 minutes. He's now almost 10 minutes ahead of the pink jersey contingent, and in that chase group, it's Damiano Cunego of Lampre, who is only down 2:43 on the pink jersey, meaning that he is now the virtual leader of the race on the road.
By a long shot, in fact. I think it's very interesting to hear Wagelius. He's pretty calm about this whole thing. He's not freaking out that today is an insane day. He knows that his team had great results. This is Ryder's 4th day in pink. He knows that the real way to control this race is on the leaders of some other teams and their squads. And so Ryder Hejdahl is playing off of that.
But at the same time, you have to believe, even though they may not see it publicly, that there is some concern because you don't want to lose the pink jersey. You want to protect it, but knowing that you might be at a disadvantage has to be an issue.
And they're at a fairly severe disadvantage right now with this breakaway with Cunego in it at 2:43 down. This has the makings of a day that turns the general classification upside down. We saw it immediately when we came on the air, and look at this. Cunego 150 into the pink right now with this breakaway. So 150, it's not actually huge, and it's still going to have a lot of racing to play out. But we knew it when we first came on. A lot of chaos today with the rain, all the climbs. The rain has let up. That's nicer for everybody.
Still 3 climbs left to go, so there is time for Hejdahl and the other GC contenders in the peloton to take back that time. But it's something to take note of because will lead on the road here at stage number 15. Under 55 kilometers left to go. And starting climb number 2 of a 4-climb stage at the Giro d'Italia. Images are from much earlier. That was on the first climb. Just showing what the riders are doing to try and combat the weather. 53 left to go. 4-hour leader is holding on to his margin over the chasers. You got to give Matteo Rabottini a lot of credit. He is not losing ground to a much larger chasing group. 5:17 ahead. His lead has swelled to the peloton almost 10 minutes. But the big story is happening in the chasing group where Damiano Cunego is the virtual race leader. Started the day 2:43 behind Ryder Hesjedal, but as you can see with the numbers, he has more than that amount of time out there on the road right now. And this is Rabottini, our leader, at the head of the race.
Picked up the stage win at the Presidential Tour of Turkey last year, stage 5. Outsprinting Fimkin, the defending champion of that race. This is Marco Pinotti. Crashed on that descent. I believe he is behind in that chasing group with Cunego and in front of the peloton. He's just stuck out here in no man's land.
Hard spot to be in, especially after the crash. Might be feeling it. The effects are really wearing on him. And Cunego inspired by the fact that he is turning the GC race upside down right now.
And if you look at the big picture, not only is Cunego threatening to ride himself into pink, but that means back here in the peloton, you're not going to see any long break for Michele Scarponi. So now the chase is being shared by Liquigas Cannondale and Garmin Barracuda, and it looks like some of the Astana men are coming up in there as well.
Looks like Liquigas Cannondale also forcing the hand of Garmin Barracuda to give them some help at the front. They've done so much of the heavy lifting over the course of the entire Giro to bring back breakaways that they're finally saying, hey, you got the pink jersey. You want to hold it, you help.
There's a lot of bluffing that goes on in the peloton, a lot of discussion. Sometimes friendships are taken into account, and you don't want to have enemies in the field, that's for sure.
It's also part of the chess game and the interesting dynamics that unfold in a race like this, because even though Passo has never worn the pink jersey in this year's race, everybody else knows, including Garmin Barracuda and Ryder Hesjedal. They realize that he's a big player and that he could win this thing after the full 3 weeks. So they're going to make him work at the front, make his team help out to control the race. So it's not just about the pink jersey team doing the work, it's about the other teams of the top contenders also knowing that they're playing the long game, and if they want to put themselves in position for a run at the top step of the podium, they got to work.
Have a nice look here at Rabottini's belly. You can see how it distends with every breath. Called belly breathing. It's sort of an unusual term, but basically you're letting your diaphragm just hang out so your lungs can really fill up with a deep breath.
This is the Cunego chase group, just over 5 minutes back of Rabottini, whose lead is almost up to 10 minutes now on the peloton. And on this climb, in category 3, known as the Porcella di Mura, an 11K climb averaging just over 4% with a maximum slope of 12%. Probably the easiest of the 4 climbs today. They went over the hardest first in category 1. Now this Camp 3 followed by successive Camp 2s that also includes a summit finish.
What makes bike racing so interesting to me is the fact that the course, though we can say one climb is harder than another, it really is all dictated by the riders. And the final climb is always going to be harder than that first climb because the race is so critical on the final climb. Any gaps that come open on that final climb, there's no time to close them down. So they get hit really hard on the big first climb, and then they get hit even harder on the finishing climb.
Cunego leading that chase group, number 2, now pulling off to the right-hand side along the guardrail. Yeah, you really start with the arithmetic on the climbs. You look at the number numbers, the severity of the slopes, the length of the climb. But really it comes down to how things are positioned in the race when the riders get to those climbs. It's Robertini now. It's almost 50 kilometers left to go in the stage. His lead holding steady on the chasers at over 5 minutes, but it's going up to the peloton more than 10 minutes now.
Peloton does not want to see much more north at this point. they're way up in the north of the country, the weather sucks, and the break's getting huge.
This is almost the largest break we've seen at this year's Giro d'Italia. Matteo Robertini having some kind of day so far at the Giro. And Benoni is just about back up to that pretty healthy group of chasers here.
I actually thought that he was not going to make it back up to this group, honestly, Steve. When he was back there for so long behind the group after his crash, typically in that situation you end up sitting up and getting caught by the peloton, but he has fought his way back up here. A great ride by Marco Pinotti.
The team leader for the BMC squad and got off to a strong start with Taylor Phinney winning the individual time trial on stage 1 and holding the pink jersey for a few days.
That's Gustav Larsson there, middle of your screen. Chiruka and
Pinotti, GC leader for BMC, a team that also says they'd like to get a stage win with Alessandro Ballan at some point in this year's Giro. Ballan making his Giro debut this year at the age of 32. On the Cat 3, with a couple of Cat 2s still to go. This is the Forcella di Bora climb. They'll summit with 44.6 kilometers left to go to the end of the stage. Averaging just over 4% with a max slope of 12. Cunego, virtual leader of the race. That gap is holding steady now. 147 over Ryder Hesjedal, who is wearing the pink jersey for the second time in this year's race. Fourth day altogether for the Canadian. He lost it on stage 10 when Rodriguez took it. With the finish into the town of Assisi, got it back yesterday. But Hesjedal erased a 17-second gap to Rodriguez on the summit finish in Cervigno. Now Rodriguez trailing Ryder Hesjedal by 9 seconds at the top of the GC on stage 15, but the virtual standings on the road now have Cunego in the lead. Switchbacks all day long, and in fact our final climb of the day, leading up to the summit finish at Recinelli. 15 switchbacks on narrow roads.
look at this chase group coming apart right now as a lot of guys testing. This is Matteo Carrara, Sella, that's Evgeny Petrov, the Astana man. Remember a couple of seasons ago in 2010, he was the winner in that big breakaway group of over 50 riders that went clear on a really nasty day that took a lot of time out of the field.
Astana has two guys positioned near the top of the GC, both Paolo Tirolongo and Roman Kreuziger. Tirolongo, the only other guy outside Joaquin Rodriguez who was in a minute of Ryder Hesjedal at the top of the standings.
Robertini comes from a long line of cycling professionals. team, Mike. But on a wet road like this, I don't know if he's willing to take quite as many chances.
Alton with the pink jersey. Back end of the field. These riders on this small descent that leads into that third climb, which is category 2. For mechanic Scarponi, he saw his teammate Kurtigo go up the road yesterday and said that he was fine with it. Part of the plan. He didn't worry about any sort of dissension within the team. He seen Kurtigo go into the virtual race lead today, although that is sort of evaporating. What do you think Scarponi is now making of what Kurtigo's been able to do today and how that impacts his position as the team leader and the team of Montgomery itself?
Well, he's stoked. Great to have Kurtigo up the road in that chasing group. It puts pressure on the other guys. Scarponi gets to sit back and relax. His team gets to relax. It's a big deal in a race like this when you have a teammate take the pressure off your team, especially when you're one of the favorites. Oh, man. Rabatini, I get a little scared watching him go around the corners sometimes. Even though he seems so comfortable, when you see that guardrail right there lurking and he's getting pretty close, you just gotta hope that he holds it together.
35K left for our lone leader. Given Kurtigo's pedigree, the fact that he has won a Giro, is there any thought, maybe in the back of Scarponi's mind, that he becomes a threat to him for a general classification leadership role in this race?
I just don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't see it. I think that Kurtigo's goals lie later in the season. He wants to do well with the Tour de France. gearing.
It looks like Kudo going to warm up right here with an attack on the chase group. Maybe just needing some separation on the descent, perhaps.
302 behind Rabatini. I'm starting to feel like this is Rabatini's race to lose.
He is on a very narrow and difficult descent. And come on, let's start until we get inside an 8K from the finish. A lot of ways away, but still, it's up and down, a lot of undulation, and rolling terrain, a lot of back and forth with corners like this.
And if these time gaps are correct, Kudo has lost the virtual Maglia Rosa right now. It's hanging in the balance. Now he just got it back. But it's the way it is right now, he's right on that threshold.
Here comes the field in an area where we just saw Kudo a moment ago, so looks like they're taking back more time. And Kudo now going to start to force the pace. This is much more than the typical gap you see that opens up on descent. Kudo was really riding here.
Kudo, I think, realizing that he had to go from further out if he was going to have any chance of catching Rabatini. And look at this, he is pulling back some time on Rabatini right now. Seriously, just in the last few moments, we've seen the time go down by 20 seconds between them.
Looks like the other chasers and things fracturing because of Kudo's pace off the front.
This is good over the foot out. Hot quickly around the corner. Maybe that was not Kudo, but it sure looked like it.
Very tight corner on the descent. So the Italian, Damiano Kudo through 44 behind Matteo Rabatini.
Truca here doing damage control, trying to get back up to the other guys.
Rider edged off. And then gray slicker over the pink jersey, has the pink helmet, leaving behind Michele Scarpone. Rider in the pink and blue for Lampre. And this is near the front of the field. With Escana now doing the work that Liquid Jens Cannondale was doing so much of leading up the climb. Kudo here on the chase, second man on the road.
Kudo loves the descents. He's always been great at them. It's a nice calling card to have because guys that are not smooth on the descents actually cannot get the rest you can get if you're really fluid. Oh, Rabatini is down.
Oh, the first big mistake for Matteo Rabatini, our leader, crashing on the descent. The wet roads all day long. He survived until now.
He's almost done with the descents, but now he's got to get his feet back, clipped in the pedals. Notice he's still working on both of them. It's very hard to control your bike when you're not clipped in. And here we go, this left-hander. Down, but not
first ever Grand Tour stage win. Matteo Rabottini by himself for the better part of 40 kilometers of climbing.
And look at him! Look at him! Yes! Go Rabottini! Yes!
A second win with 25 meters to go. For real. Let's him take it. Matteo Rabottini. Spectacular at the finish of stage 15. What a finish.
Unreal finale there. Rodriguez back into pink. Rabottini, what a hero today.
Other GC riders losing time. That's Losada from Katusha. Then Michele Scarponi is going to come in. Sergio now just ahead of him. Then Basso.
And where is pink?
Kreuziger crosses over.
So there's a big shake-up here. Lots of changes. There's Heshdall.
Ryder Hesjedal one day after taking the pink jersey for the second time will lose it on the summit finish of Reisenelli.
Wow.
Another huge day in the mountains and another huge performance. Wow. Here comes Tiro Longo, who was near the front for a while for Astana. Boy, oh boy. Matteo Rabottini the victory. Joaquim Rodriguez back in the overall race lead. What a finish it was. Matteo Rabottini, after being passed by Joaquim Rodriguez, surged back in front to win his first ever Grand Tour stage after the end of an incredible 15th day of racing.
Phenomenal, considering nobody gets on the wheel of
That was
Rodriguez
meant to be a
when
quick
they've been
rebound
on the
as
front
well.
all day, and he comes by you in the finale like that. But Rabottini, here he is, fighting around that final corner. I think Rodriguez had to be shocked to see the tenacity of the young Italian there.
Rodriguez made